Alright, YouTube, I'm going to bring you in on this one midstream. As I was doing this, I figured this might be somewhat helpful to some people that like the old patina rides. This is a 1959 Volkswagen single cab. Basically, the rockers were replaced and left in red oxide primer. I did that last year, basically just to get on the road. But in progress, what I'm going to try to do is use rattle can and blend in the paint so that's no longer red oxide but a color somewhat similar, pretty close to what this currently is, and then also to look like it belongs, to blend it. So this will be a video on it. What I did so far is I used the die grinder with 40 grit roll lock disc, and I ground this whole area down here. That was something to give the metal some tooth so the filler can attach to it and it just doesn't break off. Then the filler I used was this stuff. Evercoat short strand fiberglass reinforced body filler. That is a welded seam, so I figured that would be the right stuff for the job. I imagine you could probably just use regular filler, but that's what I used on this. That's what I have. That's what I used. From there, I'm going to sand it somewhat smooth. Now, again, this is a good video for the do-it-yourselfer. I by no means am a body man. I am very inexperienced at body work, so what I'm just going to try doing is sanding this as well as possible. If it's not perfect, I really don't care, for the mere fact that the entire truck is not perfect. So actually some imperfection may help my blending job on this thing. This thing will never, at least as long as I own it, be restored to mint condition. I keep it like this because I like how it looks, and I may have mentioned in other videos that this thing is a work truck. During the summer times, drive this one the most. So, I don't want to cherry it out. I don't know if you guys ever had or are building a vehicle that's cherried out that you're planning on driving consistently. These, when they're rough, they're a lot easier to drive because you're not as concerned about it. You don't have the volume of money invested into them, and it's not that I don't trust my own driving. I don't trust other people. An example, I was down in the city. I go to auctions all the time, machine auctions. I was loading up the equipment I had purchased, and the factory that I was at was right next to a school. To make a long story short, school let out. I was parked off of the road. A kid comes flying out of the parking lot, nails the back of my truck as I'm sitting there. Now, he did ding up the bumper, but when I went out there, I confronted him. I said, "What the hell's going on?" This kid proceeded to tell me and blame me that I have to be more cautious because he's getting out of school. Now, kudos to his parents for making that kid go to school, but what the hell is this kid thinking that when I'm off the road, he can hit me just because he's coming out of school? Either way, point being, if I was in a cherried out bus and a little punk like that comes flying out and nails me, oh, I'd be pissed. I mean, not that I'm not pissed now, but I would be even more pissed. Whereas when I drive this vehicle, I'm a heck of a lot less concerned. So that's why I don't care if it's absolutely perfect. Actually, I prefer it not to be perfect because I think it'll help with the blend. I just don't want to see the actual weld, so that's why I laid a coat of filler. I will get you down there with me. I'll sand the filler and then go over. I'm going to do it similar to what I did to the tail lights in another video. That's actually new metal all around that tail light, and I blended it. So this might be helpful to some who's just trying to do patch repairs and then try to make it look like it's meant to be. So let me get set up and we'll start sanding and go from there. Getting there. It's still pretty wavy. I might do another coat and then use a block to kind of get some of the waves out. But again, like I said, this is just to get it to blend in color, hide the weld, blend the color, and call it a day. Quickie. Alright, this is what we have. You can see the darker spots are low spots. Obviously the metal are high spots. If I wanted to make this better, I probably should have shrunk the high spots and started there. But again, I can't emphasize enough, this is just a quick blend job to hide that red primer. So this is the stuff I'm going to use to start. Rust-Oleum primer, filler primer. I'm going to mask off the jack points and then lightly dust. Well, actually, I don't know how lightly. I'm probably going to spray a pretty good coat of this on there. And then a quick sand with the block. See where we're at that point. If it looks horrible, I'll go back and add more filler. But I think after the filler primer and then a dust coat of the paint, I think we'll be alright. So, let me mask that stuff off and I'll bring you back. Alright, we're masked off, jack points, tire. What I also did is spray. Actually, I dabbed it and wiped this rust inhibitor on my rust spots. It leaves like a waxy film. That way if any overspray or anything gets on that, it shouldn't stick, so I can keep my rust spots. Some people are probably thinking I'm crazy, but I like the rust spots. So we're gonna go ahead, filler primer. Yes, it took me.
Now you're gonna paint it your freaking green color?
Grease.
4. Keep my rest.
We got Rust-Oleum Satin Fossil. It's a pretty close match. We'll see how it turns out. Turned out well on the back. I'm gonna to spray it thicker on the bottom and then dust the edge.
Road grime on it, this stuff would be nice.
Alright, it's painted. I actually went back through and did a dust coating of a lighter color to try blending it because it looked like it was a little too dark, so I was trying to tone it down a little bit. But that's it. I mean, you could definitely tell, you know, in your mind's eye, there's something rotten in Denmark there. It obviously doesn't match 100%, but what I also did is I sprayed some salt water on the sanded through spots to try rusting them up and adding brown in here. Down there you can still see it's dripping in there. Again, camouflage it, and once, believe me, this truck probably will not get washed once this year. So the road grime and everything else that blends in on that, or that accumulates on this rocker, is going to stay on this rocker. But for a rattle can blend job, I think it looks pretty good. I mean, it looks a heck of a lot better and less obvious than that red oxide primer. Although if I was to do it again, I think I would spray the red oxide primer rather than the gray filler primer, because as you can see, it's coming through a little bit and it looks gray, and that won't rust up. But on the grand scheme of things, I think it looks pretty good. And the gray primer won't be too bad because on the front, I don't know if you can see that, this is pretty much the color that's on the side, but the front is worn off to the point where it's that gray too. So also, this door is not the original door. It's actually off a deluxe model. You can see the holes, but that's a little bit lighter too. So nothing really blends on this thing, or matches on this thing. So I think once that gets driven and a little bit dirty, I think it'll look pretty good. I mean, it looks a lot better than the red oxide primer. So that's that. Hopefully those spots will rust up a little bit. I do appreciate you watching. Again, it's just kind of a fun little video for people who are trying to keep the patina look. Want to save the rust and do it on a budget. I think I've got invested, a little bit of sandpaper, a little bit of filler, a couple cans of rattle can, 10-15 bucks. And there it is. Thanks again for watching. Please like, subscribe, and come back for more goofy little projects on Volkswagens. Thanks again.